pretty good. Yeah, man, that's really smooth. That is really smooth. Be okay. The Ethos trilogy is now complete, with the solid that will be available on June 12th, and expecting this to be a buttery control ball, I claimed it for myself. While it definitely is a control ball, it also really surprised me, so stick around for one of the most interesting reviews I've ever made. I'm also going to try to refine the look you get at it, so let me know what you think about that. You know by now that I'm the tech guy that shoots you straight, and that's one thing that won't change. It's all about the ball reaction and getting you what you need. This is the standard review, and I'll have the live comm separately because there's a lot to chew on here, and I'm not sure you want to sit through a 30-minute video. We are at Royal Crest Lanes, Lawrence, Kansas on the Kegel Chromium Challenge pattern. It's 42 feet long, 25.5 mils, and the graph is linked in the description if you want all of the pattern details. The 15-pound numbers for the core are a low 248 RG for strong and early rolling and revving, and a high 053 differential for a lot of flare to expose plenty of fresh cover to the lane on every rotation to help increase traction. While the Pearl and Hybrid both included HK22 with the Savvy Hook 4.0 formula, the solid version is just Savvy Hook 4.0 by itself at 2000 grit, which is where I left it, but I don't think we needed the spec sheet to see that there's no HK22 here. Effectively, that makes the Ethos Solid the Knockout Bruiser 2.0, very similar strong symmetric cores and SH 4.0 at 2000. I'm going to try to structure things more and ramble less. We're going to talk some general reaction characteristics, then what conditions and situations it'll be best in, which bowler types it'll fit for, pros and cons, what it compares to, so on and so forth. I think you can already tell this is going to be a very streamlined review because this ball is not complicated whatsoever, but you're going to need to pay a lot of attention to what I say. People throw words like good and bad around too much, and for some reason, the good balls all go long and flip, and the bad balls are all early and smooth. If something doesn't fly back from the ditch or throw pins everywhere, it doesn't recover or it pukes. Unless it's urethane, then of course it's allowed to be smooth. However, just because you accept that something like the Ethos Solid is smooth and controllable, that doesn't necessarily mean it's effective. There are some early and smooth balls that are effective and some that aren't, so let's talk. I expected smooth, but I didn't expect quite this smooth in addition to this weak. I'm not sure that I've ever filmed a review for a reactive ball where I didn't move inside, and I'm going to apologize for the camera angle right now because I spent nearly the rest of the video in the 10 to 5 zone. I don't ever intend to spend much time there, so I position the camera as straight up the lane as I can for the best vantage point, but I can be kind of in the way of the shot sometimes when I'm playing this straight. I think we can still see what we need to see for the most part though. Even for the really smooth and weaker stuff, I still at least feel like I can move in and give 17 to 6 a shot, if only for the memes, but I didn't even attempt it with this one. I already had to slow it down and rev it up from 14 to 6, and for some context here, I'm not aiming for the 3 or 4 board on most of these shots. I'm just unfortunately programmed to give every ball room, especially from this straight. I cry about this incessantly in the live comm, but I've still yet to find this magical lefty wall. All I know is that if I get the ball inside or up the lane in the slightest, it's gone. I've never had the smallest bit of miss room inside, in any center, on any pattern at all whatsoever, so it took me an absurd amount of time to stop throwing this ball out the window because I always have to make sure I give the ball room to get down the lane, so a big part of this is on me. I might have to make a supercut of me just launching it at the 3 board or something. There's definitely plenty of material there. However, there are several marginal shots that I expected to try harder to get back up the hill, but they didn't, so at first I was really on the fence about this one. I wasn't throwing it great or doing the ball any favors, but it really wasn't helping me out either, and that's especially surprising in a place where I can make literally any other reactive ball that I throw work from. That's why I start at 14 to 6. It gives me a good sense of how strong the ball actually is. If it's too strong, I know it's a stronger ball. If it's not quite enough, I know it's a weaker ball. And if it fits, I know it's right in the middle. But I can always at least make something happen from 14 to 6, and this ball just really did not want to be there. This one really reminds me of a Teal Rhino Pro kind of shape, or maybe even the OG Teal, the really blendy climbing arc that never really stops. This one is just earlier and takes more time to get going than the more recent Teal from a couple years ago. It also shines up fairly quickly, but that's not a bad thing at all. Because of how slow it is out of the box, I think it's almost like a Pro Motion where it's going to be infinitely better after it shines up. That'll balance the reaction. It'll still be early and slower, but not so early and slow that it gives you angle issues. I don't think that this is a fresh condition ball. It definitely needs some transition, which you'll see later in the video, and while I think this ball is going to be better and more useful the tougher the conditions are, if you're the type that likes to walk the ball down the side, this ball is actually a perfect strength to play on a house shot. If you want that kind of almost old blue hammer feel in a reactive ball, this is it. I think ball speed matters more so than rev rate for this ball. If you have higher speed, it's just not going to do much for you, but even if you have lower revs to go with lower speed, this might be kind of a refreshing ball that's not going to try to hook off the planet or turn sideways on you. All rev rates should like this one as long as your speed isn't too high. I think high rev rates and especially two-handers are going to love this one because you're going to be able to obliterate this thing at the bottom and it's just going to walk up to the pocket. For the pros, it's really smooth and controllable, and I'll talk about this in the live com, but I think this ball is the perfect bridge from urethane to reactive. When scores get ugly, it's typically because urethane isn't in play, but reactive stuff is still too responsive. I like that we've been getting more and more balls like this from Brunswick because while the strong and flippy stuff is great, it's pushing overkill. This ball is absolutely going with me to Greater Ozarks this coming weekend, and it's going to Nationals in July. No questions asked, because last year I had that exact issue. Urethane wasn't quite right, but all my reactive stuff was too strong and or too responsive. This may be one of the best cliff blending reactive balls I've ever thrown, and it's going to be the absolute nuts on a lot of tougher and flatter conditions. For the cons, it's really slow and also pretty weak. I don't think you'd expect a ball that looks like this on paper to end up looking like this on the lane. On paper, it looks like a GB5 or a stealth mode or a hammerhead type of ball, and it's absolutely not. It's again much more like an earlier and smoother teal rhino. As long as you know what you're buying, you'll be fine, but if you don't, I think you're going to be unpleasantly surprised. Also, while it can be a house shot ball, I'm going to give it a look at least. It's going to be more niche and situational. It's not just going to be plug and play from third arrow for everyone. Now towards the end here, after I straightened out and threw a couple dozen shots, I got a fair amount of transition or some more consistent friction towards the outside at least. Then I started throwing darts and was able to edge back a little inside to about 12 to 5. I'd actually turned the camera off and was half practicing and half experimenting with it because I'd already burned up enough video. I ended up finding something, I turned the camera back on and threw 10 in a row, so maybe if you have trouble on higher friction lanes that force you inside and screw with your angles, that prematurely force you inside and screw with your angles, this one again might be magic for high rev rates and two-handers. As far as comparisons, this is a really hard one because I just don't think there are any. It shapes a lot like the original Stealth, that kind of half round, half arc, climbing and mostly continuous shape, but it's definitely weaker and still even smoother than that one. Teal Rhino is a fair amount cleaner and sharper. It's got some hammerhead vibes too, but nowhere near that strong or sharp, etc. It's rare to be able to say this in a world where 100 new balls come out every single year, but this one is absolutely firmly in its own category. To recap, very smooth, controllable ball, weaker than expected. While I think it'll work for all rev rates, the higher your rev rate, the more you'll like it. Really don't think high speeds are going to match up unless you like pointing stuff dead off the corner. It might be okay on some fresh conditions, but I really think once you get some solid friction in the track and let the ball shine up, it's really going to come to life. It's a great addition for the Brunswick brands to diversify the reaction range a bit, and whether or not it's intentional, this feels to me like the first real success in the attempt to bridge the urethane to reactive gap that no one else has quite figured out yet. As always, lots of great stuff in the description. I've appreciated you all using my CoolWick code as often as you have. Most of the credit that I get from your purchases goes to providing jerseys for the Youth League at Royal Crest every year, so I am paying it forward.
I will take your kindness and pay it forward.
I've also really liked a lot of the stuff I've been using from Genesis. I'm a big fan of their tapes and their chamois, and the Sport 3-ball mod roller goes everywhere with me now. I still use and love the Nexus backpack. We're on to version 2. Discount link in the description for that, as well as their journal that's a great tournament and league companion and pairs really well with the score tracking app. And don't forget the email address for the custom handcrafted items made from bowling balls. The bowling video thing is a lot of time and expense for not a lot in return, so sorry for the ads, but I really do use and like this stuff. I think you will too, and it's a really easy way to support me at the same time, so I appreciate it. The live commentary is once again in a separate video coming soon with some in-the-moment context and discussion about the ball and some general whining about sucking and being left-handed, so make sure you check that one out. Once again, the Ethos Solid releases on June 12th, and if you're going to buy it online, please use the link in the description to Bowler's Mart. That gets me some kickbacks whenever you buy something, so that's also an easy way to support me. Feel free to drop a comment with any questions or feedback you might have. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you. This video was brought to you by Panda Bear Productions. We put the in bowling.